Everybody is special and specialer. And I'm just giving you a heads up, Sister Romana Africa.
Yes.
Romana was born in Philadelphia in 1955. She went to Catholics. Oh. We'll skip the Catholic school and then went to Temple University and graduated with a BA in political science and associate degree in criminal justice.
She never let it interfere with the truth.
I didn't hear that. Lynn Stewart says she never let it interfere with the real true sense of humanity and justice. There's so much here to say, but I want to cut to the fact that she wanted to be a revolutionary. She wanted to be a revolutionary, like move people. So she decided not to go to law school. Admirable. She regularly attended the trials of MOVE members and became outraged at the blatant injustice she was witnessing and impressed with the strength and the clarity and the wisdom of MOVE members. Police and other officials began to identify her as a MOVE supporter, and she became targeted for harassment and arrest. But it is this kind of injustice that pushed her right into MOVE, into exposing and revolting against the oppression she was subject to. John Africa named her Commissioner of Communication in 1981. She was in her MOVE home in May 1985 when the government dropped a bomb on their house, which ignited a fire that firefighters and other officials on the scene made a conscious decision not to put out. They deliberately let it burn, and as a result, 11 MOVE women, men, babies, animals were burned alive. It has also been documented that police took deliberate aim and shot at MOVE members trying to exit the burning building because bullet fragments from police gunfire were found in the bodies of her family members. They planned to kill every living being in that house, but they failed. The MOVE members that survived were charged. Romana was charged with everything from arson, possession of explosives, conspiracy, risking and causing a catastrophe, weapons charges, riot, etc. She went to trial and was convicted of riot. She was sentenced to 16 months to 7 years in prison. When she was interviewed for parole, when she completed the minimum sentence of 16 months, parole officials said they would only release her early if she agreed to disassociate. This is underlined in yellow. Disassociate completely from MOVE and have no contact with MOVE members at all. She absolutely refused to do so. Since her release in 1992, she is the ever-ready bunny battery.
Yes.
She has not written that, but she is unrelenting. She has traveled the world to focus attention on her MOVE sisters and brothers that have been unjustly imprisoned for over 35 years for a crime they did not commit. And what happened to the mayor of Philadelphia? Who was the murderer? No. She has worked for Mumia Abu-Jamal, Russell Maroon Schultz, who again, if you don't know, his daughter is in the house to and many more. John Africa's MOVE organization are living beings, so Romana says we have feelings and we can hurt, such as by the murder of our family in 1985, but we won't be stopped from fighting against tyranny. She is absolutely committed with every breath of her life to justice, to freedom, to bringing home our sisters and brothers who have provided their life force for justice and liberation. Romana Africa.
On the move.
On the move. Let me start out with a question. Who here is under the illusion that fighting to get the release of our freedom fighters is something that we're doing for them? Who is under that illusion? Because we are doing it for ourselves. I mean, anytime you take a stand against injustice, that benefits everybody, including you. Because to allow these kinds of injustices to exist, that's a threat to you and your family, your children, you know? So we are not just doing this for somebody else. We have to understand that we are doing this to protect ourselves, to rid the world of this kind of injustice. The kind of injustices like that brother from the Virgin Island 5 is, I cannot remember his name. The one that did all his time, and when it was time for him to be released after doing all his time, the government said, oh no, we think he's a threat to society. We're not releasing him. He had done all his time. Toronto. Yeah. You know, a system that tells a brother named Herrera in Texas, you know, that executing him despite evidence of his innocence. I mean, he was this close to being executed when evidence came up, you know, that could possibly prove him innocent. And his lawyer went running into the Supreme Court, saying, you have to stop the execution, you have to stay it. We have new evidence, you know. Supreme Court said, yeah, well, at this point, innocence is not the issue. Well, then what is the issue? We cannot afford to sit back and allow this system to slap us in the face like that, to demand that we swallow this nonsense, that we accept it. You see, John Africa Move's founder, he taught us something. He said the way this system oppresses and abuses people is criminal.
Yes, it is.
He also said it is just as criminal to allow yourself to be abused and mistreated that way. So the issue is not so much what these officials are doing. We know who they are and what they do. I mean, how many more examples do we need? How many more babies being burned alive do we need? How many more Mumias sitting on death row for what, 30 years? Despite his innocence? You know, how many more examples do we need? We have to be seriously committed to putting an end to this rotten ass system. It goes beyond. It goes beyond bringing certain people home. That's part of it, because we should never allow this system to put our freedom fighters in jail. How dare they call my sisters and brothers murderers when they murdered their children, the children of the Mumia. How dare they call Mumia a murderer when they murdered Sean Bell right here in New York City? You know, and the countless list of persons that are killed by this system every day. You see, we have to take the attitude, the righteous attitude, the confident attitude that we're not going to allow our enemy to call us criminal when we know who the real criminal is.
That's right.
That's right. We know. All right. Is anybody in here confused about the fact that war has been declared on us, that we are in a state of war? Absolutely. Is anybody confused about that?
No.
So what is all this nonsense about turning guns in? Too many people got guns. Yeah, too many people have guns. All them damn cops that I don't have a lot to say except that MOVE is not opposed to using any avenue at our disposal, including, you know, appeals or whatever avenues this system puts out there for, you know, us to use that they claim will give you satisfaction and relief if you're wrong. We don't have a problem with that. But damn it, when that stuff don't work, we also don't have a problem with people doing whatever is necessary to get relief from this right. We're not going to be doormats for this system. We're not going to be doormats for these rotten. We are going to fight and keep on fighting for what's right, for the principle of freedom, the principle of justice. They mouth those words, but they don't mean it.
No.
They don't mean it. I always tell people, when the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence was written, when they said we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, who the hell were they talking about? Were they talking about Africans that was brought here in chains? No. Were they talking about the indigenous people of this country that they slaughtered into virtual extinction? Were they talking about women? No. Were they even talking about white men that didn't own land?
No.
Well, who the hell were they talking about? You know, it's a lie. They didn't mean it. They never meant it. Never had any intention of applying any kind of principle of equality like that, you know. And we need to wake up and smell the coffee and understand that they're just pushing a lie. They don't mean it. And the only way we are going to realize the principle of justice, the principle of equality, is when we, the people, refuse to accept anything less. Absolutely. We have to fight for that and make it clear that we accept nothing else. Other than that, these people will do what they do as long as we allow them to do it. Our family's been in jail 36 years this year. But I'll tell you what, one thing this system knows is that we have never and will never stop fighting for our family. They wish we would go away. That's why they dropped that bomb.
Yes.
Because they did not want us out there, you know, continuously, consistently exposing them and not letting, you know, what was done to our family go away. They made a decision, look, if we can't stop them any other way, we just gonna have to wipe them out. We're gonna have to kill them. But now they realize that didn't stop us. That's right. You know, like Mimi read in that thing, yeah, we're living beings. You know, we're alive. We have feelings. We can be hurt because we are alive and have feelings. We can be hurt. But damn it, we won't be stopped And that's what's important.
That's right.
We will not be stopped.
Yeah.
We will. Might want to learn more about it.
Where did that?
They're in my bag over there.
Anybody that wants some?
Yeah, sometime we have to talk about going back and bringing to justice Wilson Good.
Right.
Among others.
Among others.
Among others.
I want to be on that.
Fire chief.
Lynn, I hate to say it, Lynn, this time we may make you a prosecutor. And that would be the prosecution of Wilson Good, in case you didn't get that. Noelle Hanrahan is an investigative journalist. And I could read all this stuff, but really suffice it to say that I think the thing that's so remarkable is the use of media to bring the voices of some of the most important liberatory figures that are undaunted in their resolve to continue their fight for the people, regardless of, as the fact Romana said, that we hurt, they hurt, are so badly abused and subject to the torture, which is the prison system for everyone and anyone. We are all political prisoners that are within the system of this brutal destruction of human life behind the walls. Noelle, for the creation of prison radio, for bringing to us on a weekly basis the voice of some of the most astute leadership for liberation in the country, and the voices who, but for you, oftentimes would never get an airing. We both honor you and bring you to speak to us to continue to have the voices of our political prisoners uplifted through you at this time.
Really came to this workshop to listen, because I really want to hear what everybody has to say and who's on this panel. And there are people that I haven't met or spent much time with that I really want to spend more time with, because we have an enormous amount to learn from our struggles. Like, for instance, right now the Puerto Rican independence movement is on fire. And you know, in the leadership over the many, many years, we really have to look for that in terms of some of the things that they've done, some of the strategies they've created, some of the timelines. I can just feel it. I haven't spoken to anybody, but boy, do I want to go talk to Jose Lopez. You know? Something's coming down, and I can feel it happening. And that's the kind of energy that I know we haven't met, but
You got to come to a press conference, June 5th.
all right. So as many of you know, Prison Radio, www.prisonradio.org, on up to 1,000 stations all over the world every week, 200 stations on a regular basis. It's an honor to actually learn so much from the prisoners that call, because I and the people that work with me, many volunteers, get to hear this material every day. We get to feel what the, as you said, leadership from inside. We get to understand more of that. Prison Radio has this really unique role in that it broadcasts uncensored, unvarnished, unmitigated, not interpreted by some ridiculous talking head. This information that cuts to the quick, that cuts to the heart. These are the people that are not compromising. You know, these are the people that have really determined what is important in their community, and I think it's just fascinating and important, and the only world that I want to live in is a world where they're all free. It takes an enormous amount of courage to act every day. And we have to act. There are things that make it really difficult for us because of the way the economy is at this point, how much we have to work, and all of those things. But, for instance, when Lynn went to prison, I knew that that hit was because of the work she had done as a little prisoners. And I knew that I was going to wake up at 4 a.m. and I was going to go to bed at 1 p.m. Yep. Because we actually had to roll out the work. The same now is true of Kevin Rashid Johnson, wrapped in prison in Texas. So 2 other just little points, and I'd love to hear what the rest of people have to say. I wrote a letter to a political prisoner last week, and I just wanted to read one paragraph of it. Let me begin by saying that the fact that you have not been released over 4 decades is not a reflection on your attorneys, your choices, the merits of their arguments, or the strategies that they have employed over the years. It's in fact a measure of the intention of the government at the highest levels to attempt to bury the cases of those in prison during the COINTELPRO period, as documented by the Church Commission hearings in the Senate, either for the original activity for which you were targeted, or as an extension of the cover-up of the illegitimate government activity conducted during and after that time.
Absolutely.
We can never forget that Richard Held, one of our most antagonistic opponents who put many of our friends in prison, lives in Palo Alto, California, drives a Prius, and writes to the Palo Alto Weekly. That man should have a tribunal on his front lawn every single day.
He was in
Puerto Rico, he was in Wounded Knee, he was set up Geronimo, he was in Puerto Rico for 8 years, and he was the station chief in charge of the San Francisco field office when Judy Barry was car bombed. So you know, every time I know that Richard Held is living that nice life with those 2 Priuses, I just want to know. I also want to say that no blame, no shame, no negative organizing. The past is the past, but I think we need some accountability for the work that's being done for our prisoners. Not one step. That's not one step forward. And I need to see an on-the-ground commitment for getting our people free, even if we have to hold certain people accountable. So I need people's families to sit up and say, we need to get out, and we need moral accountability. More steps forward.
That's right.
Thank you, Noelle. I've been given the task of introducing the next guest introduction. This introduction starts 50 years ago, in 1962, in New York, before I met this next guest, maybe before she was active. A woman named Queen Mother Moore said to me, after hearing a speech that I made, "Young man, you're in trouble. And if you intend to continue this fight, your only reward is going to be the people you meet."
Absolutely.
Well, here's another reward. Pam Africa.
That fashion show was a revolutionary fashion show. This bag supports Noelle Hanrahan and Prison Radio. It's on Prison Radio and turn the voices out. Oh, wow. You know what that was. I watched those words. Just this is right, a young lady, and I can come to and say, I need money to get to New York. Can you help me? We need to do certain things. Can you help me? She's giving me jackets and all to sell. I say that to say, a lot of the people wonder what can they do to help the revolution. And I'm saying it's something that everybody can do. Right. No, you will not see her on the front line. You will not see her on the picket line. But this is something she can do. Right. So I'm saying, you know, when we go back, we got to let everybody know that there is something that you can do. As my sister so eloquently put it, yes. If you can fry chicken, fish, have a vegetarian dinner, right. And babysit for some revolutionaries, right. Give us a ride from one place to another, that's a revolutionary act. And it shouldn't be seen as a small thing, because if what you can do is the same thing that I can do, what I can do. And John Africa made this very clear. Move people. I am Minister of Confrontation, as my sister is Minister of Information. And we don't take those titles lightly. And being in a movement and staying this long on the front line came from the love that was put in us by John Africa. I didn't have it. You know, I really didn't have it. And the understanding of where people are at and the level that people are at within this revolution. We are a family of revolutionaries and a family of people who want to be. So we got to have understanding. We will have arguments and fights just like they do. These people argue, fight, and the president, Bush, his own man, didn't he shoot and kill some damn body? We're not going that far. You know, but I say that to say, we have got to come together and stay together. Yes. We're not always going to agree because we come from different places. Right. But the one thing that we must agree on, that this system has got to go. That's right. Those pawns that are called police and politicians, they're our sisters. They're our brothers. It is up to us and those prison guards. When MOVE people go to prison, and a lot of political prisoners go to prison, they wind up as teachers. Yes. You have to teach those, because if we're not teaching them to take all their energy and turn it the other way, then they are seduced by the money. Yes. Yeah. They are seduced by that so-called power that these people believe in the system. But we got power. That's right. We got power each and every day. Is Lynn here? Right. Yeah. Is Mumia